Finally, part 1 of episode 69 has been released, and this episode turned out to be amazing. And there are so many references and secrets here that you will be shocked. And in this video, you will find out where the plunger cameraman got such improvements, what does this large toilet hide, what happens in this laboratory, who is the traitor, and also what will happen next. The video will be very interesting since I am sure that most of you did not notice all the details and references, so be sure to watch to the end, and also do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Since our goal is 650,000 subscribers by the new year, I don't know if we will make it, but we need to try. Hello friends, you're on the Dattebayo channel. Subscribe to the channel and press the like button under the video to speed up the release of the next video. And let's go. The episode begins immediately with a toilet fight against agents, and we were not shown exactly where the agents went. But I think they went through this central door, and here's also the first reference to the Valve company. And we see the same toilet as in this photo, and this is the old logo of the Valve company. And we know that Dattebayo loves this company very much, since Source Filmmaker, where he make animations from this company. And also many characters from the game Half-Life, which is also from the Valve company. And also at this point, we can notice that Plunger Cameraman has received improvements. And now he has spikes in his fist, and the Cameraman Titan had the same spikes in episode 65, where he beat up the fake Gmail, and this is a reference to Transformers. Because Optimus Prime had similar spikes in his fist, and we know that Dattebayo also loves Transformers since he used to do animations with them. He also now has a plunger with spikes, although before he had none, and this is another reference from other games. For example, in the old game Gothic, there was a similar stick with spikes. But here we see a plunger, and the Plunger Cameraman successfully destroys this mutant. But at this moment, we see a human skeleton, and here my old theory was confirmed. Since based on this skeleton, we can say that there were people here, and the last time we saw people was in episode 9. And throughout the entire series, everyone wanted to know where did all the people disappear. And here's the answer. Some people were in the laboratory of toilets, or rather it was a laboratory of people. And I can later prove to you that it was a laboratory of people. And a second later, we see the Dark Assassin as he successfully kills toilets, and Plunger Cameraman also successfully destroys the parasite with his spiked plunger. And we see how the parasite tried to capture the Dark Assassin, but he neutralized him using a sound wave. And then they show us all the agents who made their way here. And there are also important details here. We see the lucky cameraman who looks at the tablet to find a safer path for the agents as it was in the new scene of season 22. And we also see on the floor 2 agents. And they lie in a very funny pose. And their pose means number 69. And you better not Google what it is. But their pose is a reference to episode number 69. And also here we can notice that the number of agents has changed. And here we see 10 agents, including those lying on the floor. And together with the Plunger Cameraman and the Dark Assassin, there will be 12 of them. But it is important to note that when they were in the elevator, there were only 10 of them, and 11 was the body of the deceased hero. And the number of agents could not change since we saw in episode 67 exactly 11 agents ended up in the laboratory. And after that, the doors closed. But then the large cameraman died and there were 10 of them left in the elevator. But here there are already 12 of them, and I have 2 options why this is so. The first option is that Dattebayo simply missed this point, but I doubt it. And the second option is very likely, since this is a laboratory of skibidi toilets, and here they conduct experiments on both people and agents. And these 2 bodies were originally here, and Dattebayo simply put them in this pose so that it would turn out to be 69, because that is the number of this episode. And a second later, we see the speaker man taking his knives, and in the doorway we see 2 heads. And it seems to me that this is another Skibidi Hydra that we saw in episode 24 when the speakerman first appeared. And we also see many other rooms with mutants. And on the left we see a burning toilet. And this is quite interesting. And I also have 2 options for what it is. The first option is that it is a reference to the Ghost Rider from the Marvel Universe. And we know that Dattebayo also loves this universe. Throughout the series we can notice references to Marvel films. But the second option is more likely since here we can notice 2 lamps. And it seems to me that the toilets want to repeat the TV woman ability, with which she can also burn toilets. And we saw in episode 67 that the scientist had only 2 types of light. Red, which makes the target kill himself, and purple, which makes the victim attack his allies. But we did not see the yellow light, which can burn enemies. And I think that it is with the help of these lamps, the scientist is trying to recreate this ability. And also in other rooms, we see shaking mutant who ignore the agents. And in the last chamber, we see 3 skeletons. And the same skeletons were in the first season of the Skibidi toilet. And there was also the same old meme with them. And I'll tell you even more. The same toilets were in the multiverse from Verlance. And we see how the lucky cameraman opens the doors for us again. And they show us a detachment of agents. And we see 2 cheerful speakermen who do not understand the danger of this laboratory. And we already have a large laboratory room. And also on the left, we can see large tanks and pipes. And it seems to me that there is acid there, which is filled with barrels and then attached to the toilets. And we also see a creepy big door and also a lot of blood. And I think that behind this door, there is another conveyor belt with toilets, since in part 2 of episode 68, we saw a conveyor belt with black toilets. But from below, we saw a conveyor belt with white toilets. And also near the door, we see a white toilet. And I'm even scared to imagine what is behind this door besides a conveyor belt with toilets. And also on this door, we can notice a combination lock, which cannot be opened using the device that the lucky cameraman has, since here you need to enter a code. And this means that this room is very secret, and only a few high-ranking toilets have access to this door. But suddenly we see the cameraman's head, and from above we see a skibidi hybrid that jumps down and immediately kills one agent. And here we can notice that this hybrid is not the same as the one we saw in episode 66, and its body is almost falling apart. And to me it seems that this is a hybrid between skibiditoilet and cameraman, since we see that he is in the same costume as cameraman. And I think that throughout the entire series the toilets collected the dead bodies of agents and crossed them with toilets. And this is why his body is in such a bad condition, since always after a battle, the bodies of dead agents are very damaged. But we saw that in episode 66, this toilet was intact and also very smart. And from this, we can say that this is the final version of the hybrid, and this toilet is the initial and unsuccessful version of the hybrid. And also the version that this is a hybrid of a cameraman is confirmed by the fact that the paralyzing gun does not affect him, since he is a cameraman only with the head of a toilet. And like a zombie, he tries to hit the plunger cameraman, and he almost succeeded. But the dark assassin came to the rescue, and they hit the toilet in the head with a knife, but he was able to survive it. And the plunger cameraman blinded him with a plunger with spikes, and the black assassin nodded his head to him so that he would finish him off. But suddenly we heard a noise, and we see all the cells with toilets opening, and also an army of toilets coming out from different directions. And in that frame, we can notice that this is the same Skibidi Hydra from episode 24, since it has long necks. And again, we see several Skibidi hybrids, but the lucky cameraman managed to close this door and open a new one. And from another door, we see another toilet, and it is very similar to the vacuum toilet that was in episode 46. And these toilets were specially created that would fight with the TV Man Titan, since they have metal blindfolds on their eyes and also have nails in their ears, so that the sound abilities of the TV Man Titan and the Speakermen would not affect them. But fortunately, the lucky guy closed all the doors and thereby saved the two Speakermen, and these two fools started dancing again instead of running away, and they paid for it with their lives. And here we again see a reference to a real character. And this is Michael Jackson, who is the king of pop music, and also an incredible dancer, and I am sure that everyone knows his moonwalk. And he is a legend that no one will ever forget, and respect to Mr. Tafuk that he is his added. I really adored this singer and still listen to his songs. And I also forgot to add that the sound of this toilet is the same as that of zombies from the game Half-Life. And this is another reference. And after the door closed, the agents began to run away. And here we can notice some kind of paper, but I can't make out what it is written there. And also on the box, we see inscription 150686, and also the inscription fragile, which means that there is something valuable and fragile there. But what does the number 150686 mean? To be honest, I don't know yet, and here you need to think very carefully. And I hope that I'll find out this in future videos. But if you have options, write them in the comments. And then we see the most difficult choice in the history of the series, how the dark assassin took the remote control from the lucky guy and wanted to close the door. But the plunger cameraman wanted to stop him, but he didn't listen and closed the door. And because of this, the twins died. And does this mean that he is a traitor? No, this does not mean that he is a traitor, since he did everything right. Because if he had not closed the door, then everyone would have died, and he had to sacrifice them, and I hope that you will understand him. But the plunger cameraman reacted very emotionally and began to beat the Speakerman, and just look at how powerful his blow was, that he could even damage the wall. But the Speakerman understands him that he is acting on emotions and did not hit back. And then the plunger cameraman showed his famous gesture to the toilets. And we already saw the main part of the laboratory, and also the green light at the end. And this is where the episode ends. And now I will explain to you what this green light is, and also why Michael Jackson did not break down these doors. You might think that it is the light of the Mr. Tafuk, which we see very often. But in fact, the Tafuk has a brighter light. And I think that this is the most important part of the laboratory, and acid is developed there. And it is from the acid that we see such light. But why didn't Michael Jackson break down this door? In fact, everything is very simple. If you look at this corridor, you will notice that it is perfectly clean and there are no corpses of toilets or other things that we saw before. And also by looking at these doors, we can say that they are airtight, which are in real laboratories where conduct experiments. And they are much stronger than the rest so that the test subjects or the infection cannot get out of here. And perhaps if Michael Jackson and other toilets began to beat this door, then perhaps they would have broken it. But since this is a special department, they did not do this because the Skibidi scientist would have been very angry. But why do I think that it was a human laboratory? Because we see a lot of human skeletons. And also in this frame, we see a skeleton in a white coat, which means that it was a scientist. And toilets just captured this laboratory and killed a lot of people, and so on conducted experiments on them. But I also had an interesting idea that if the speakerman sacrificed these agents, then he could also sacrifice the plunger cameraman if there was a difficult situation. Or, on the contrary, the plunger cameraman would sacrifice the black assassin and only he and the cameraman in the red shirt would be left. And I think that's exactly what will happen. But, as always, I'll make another video where I'll explain in as much detail as possible what exactly will happen in the next episode. And so I'll tell you how many parts there will be in episode 69. And what will happen in the most important episode 70. So give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the analysis and subscribe to the channel so as not to miss a new video. And you are on the Dattebayo channel, and see you.